All right. Hi, guys, and welcome back to another week in the class. On Monday we started talking about what is rhetoric, right? And we discussed how rhetoric is essentially the art of persuasive writing, persuasive speaking, how we're able to, you know, say or argue about a subject and develop the points to back up our arguments or to show our line of reasoning, right? That's rhetoric. So today we're going to be talking about some key ways that we can do that. Like, how exactly can we do persuasive writing, or how exactly can we do persuasive speaking, right? Okay, we're going to get into all of that today. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is the rhetorical triangle. Now, this triangle is essentially a concept in rhetoric, and it talks about the relationship between the speaker, writer, the audience, and the message or the subject, which are essentially the three key elements for effective communication. Now, you might ask, how exactly are all these things related to each other, right? Well, it's very simple. So think about it like, if a person is speaking or writing about a topic, they need to be aware of who their audience is, because this will shape how they are drafting this message, right? They need to be cognizant of who exactly their target audience is, because it will guide them in how they craft their subjects. So, for example, I'm your professor, and this is a 110 class. This class is for freshmen, right? So, of course, this course is designed specifically for freshmen. But let's say I showed up to class and I developed slides that were meant for a first year graduate student. Same topic, same rhetoric that we're talking about, but just designed as if the students were graduate students, right? A lot of you might not understand what I'm saying, even though I'm still talking about the same topic, which is because I have not kept in mind, or I've not been aware of who exactly my audience is. I've not crafted my message in a way that my audience will be able to listen or read and know instantly that I'm speaking to them, or that the intention is for them to understand, right? So those are some little things. It seems little, but are actually quite big and quite important, that a writer or speaker needs to be thinking of when they are developing their arguments or when they are communicating. Who am I in conversation with? This message that I'm talking about, is my audience actually going to care, or are they already interested in this? Am I in conversation with them already, or am I starting a new conversation? And you need to be thinking about all these things, right? Okay, so that's a rhetorical triangle. And now, if you look into the triangle itself, you will notice three elements, which is ethos, pathos, and logos. And you might be wondering what those are. So we're going to go into what exactly those three things are and what they do. So, ethos, pathos, and logos essentially make up what we call the rhetorical appeals, and a very good way for you to think about them is as means of persuasion, which is essentially these three elements are important for helping us to develop a persuasive argument. So we're talking about developing a persuasive arguments, right? So how exactly do we do this? How exactly do we put forward an argument that people would listen to and, agree with, or if not agree with, at least see our point of view and think and recognize it as being valid, right? Our ethos, pathos, and logos help us do that. So we start with our ethos. And our ethos is essentially about the speaker establishing some sort of credibility, some trustworthiness with the audience. And a way I like to think about this is that the audience, you get in front of an audience, the audience is curious, like, why should we listen to you on this topic? What gives you the right to stand before us and think you can tell us to do this, that? What is the reason why you're in a position of authority to actually be able to speak about this topic, right? And it's the job of the speaker or the writer to essentially establish how exactly they have expertise, or why exactly they are in a good position to talk about a certain topic, right? That's your ethos. So for your ethos, you need to demonstrate some level of maybe knowledge, maybe showing that you have expertise or you're an expert in a certain topic, or that you have good experience in a topic, right? Another great thing for you to think of is how to establish good common ground with your audience. So, for example, in this class, we look at protest music, and let's think about someone like Kendrick Lamar, right? Let's think about his song All Right, where he's talking about police brutality and also about the disparities that racialized communities face, right? Kendrick Lamar is in a good position to talk about this because he has also experienced this, right? Growing up in Compton, being infamous for, things like gang violence, police brutality. Kendrick Lamar has lived through these experiences. So he is in an excellent position. He's in a good position to actually have a voice about this, to actually be able to say what he thinks is wrong with these issues, right? And how possibly even propose some sort of solutions on how he thinks we can fix these things and move forward, right? So that's him establishing some sort of common ground with him, right? With his audience, right? His audience instantly hears a song, and if they are already familiar with his background, or if they're a new audience and they look him up and they see his background, then they can say, oh, I can listen to this guy, I agree with him, or he's in a good position to actually be talking about these things because he's lived through them, right? So that's essentially an example of ethos. So a simple way to just think of ethos again is things like professional degrees. You walk into an office, you see a degree on the wall. That's essentially the person telling you, oh, I have expertise in this. I went to this school for this degree. You can count on me. Sometimes we will watch ads and services would have like the years of experience that have been in business, right? Even restaurants open since 1971. That's a way of them establishing some sort of ethos or common ground. We see a picture here of Shaquille O'Neal holding Icy Patch, right? And this is essentially him saying that as a professional basketball player, I recommend this product, I use it, which essentially sends a message to us that, yo, we can also use this product, right? Because a renowned professional player like Shaquille O'Neal uses this product and he endorses it. So that's just an example of ethos and how it is important for helping us to establish a persuasive argument.